Hey there, Todd Cameron here, one half of the duo, Sachin and myself, that started Scummy Clinic. So I want to chat to you today about something that is probably on your mind, and if not yours, certainly the rest of your team, all around recruiting. And if it's not GPs that you're struggling with, there's a fair chance it's going to be key staff members in the admin team, maybe your nursing team, or practice manager even. And so the principles are the same wherever you need to use them, but it's super important to understand these, particularly in an environment where you are not going to have an abundance of people to choose from. We know that there's record low unemployment at this point in time. International migration has largely been turned off. And so nobody's sitting at home watching Oprah or anything like that. You're going to need to make sure that you get your marketing and your recruiting working well. All right. We need to understand first why it's important to get this right. Now, you're going to know most of this stuff, I'm sure, but if you do not get to recruiting, and this includes those of you that are in startup mode, often what happens is we want to get ourselves full before we start recruiting somebody else. But that's not always the right thing you should be doing, because you will never, ever get holidays. And, you need to take appropriate breaks in order to be able to reset and provide the best care to your community, your patients, and your family and friends. That's super important as well. There are no profits. If you can't recruit, you cannot build anything more than a business that is centered around you and highly you dependent. The problem is that if you don't recruit the right number of people around you, you're going to find that you miss some really, really important stuff. And it doesn't really matter who it is. It's going to be people that you care about. That's the thing that matters the most. It might mean that you miss out on ad hoc opportunities to do some really cool things, but there's a likelihood that you'll be called away from some important events as well. That can be super painful, particularly if your family is going on a holiday without you. Something to think about. And the problem is that if you do not take charge of this, if you're not responsible for this yourself, the odds are that you'll be paying a lot of fees to agencies. And that in itself is not a big problem, but you've got to work with the right agencies, because sometimes what you'll find is that you're paying agency fees and doctors are sticking around for 3 months or 6 months, just enough time to meet the minimum requirements for the agreement, and then they're off to the next place. So you need to make sure that you get this right, and you cannot continue to squander your funds in that way. What we want to do is turn things around, and we want to make sure that we get better quality applicants. We need principles. We need values that are higher than a medical degree and a pulse, and they need to be aligned to the clinic values. Who it is that you're recruiting must fit in with your culture, and in particular, fit in with the patient needs. You need to have a breadth of applicants. If you want to be able to choose only the best, then it makes sense that you're going to need to have a variety of choice. You're going to need to make sure that you do have enough people applying that you can be a bit fussy about who it is that you're taking. And if you don't have the right strategy to build a variety of choices, so you're not getting more than one applicant, then you're not going to feel as if you have the power to make that choice. And you need to have a reliable and predictable way of providing those new applicants to you. It needs to be that they come through without you having to think too much about it, because you've done the pre-planning and the thinking on the front end, and then you're just letting the system run. And you must. I mean, the whole point of having a business is that you get a return for work that you are not physically doing yourself. So that's the nature of leverage, and the whole reason you have other people in your business. Otherwise, it is just a job. And so we do need to make sure that we get to that point. All right, let's get to some of the principles we use when we do this. So the first thing is you need to make sure that you build a presence on the internet, because for the most part, unless you're mailing people your proposals, and sometimes you might do that, but mostly you're going to be relying on electronic means, on digital media, in order to be giving the case out for what it is that people will be joining. And you'll know the usual places to go for this. I mean, there are social media, so you might use Facebook, which is where most people are. Insta, you might go to LinkedIn, which is a database of businesses. Again, all of these places are somewhat different in terms of who will be there and how it is that you might recruit them. The other places you'd look at is RACGP, Recruit GP. You might try other websites or other Facebook groups as well. But the first thing you need to do is make sure that your profile is appropriate and appealing to people. And you need to make sure that you've got useful content on there, and the ad copy is actually something that stands out from the rest. You do need to become beautiful. You know, you can't just expect that people are going to wade through a shitty ad to try and get to you unless you have a stunning reputation and you are able to have people that are able to put up with a lot of rubbish to get to the gold. So become beautiful, break the internet. The first sale is to yourself. You need to believe that the offer you are providing in the marketplace is actually a great offer. The number of times I ask doctors if they would work in the clinic with the current arrangements they have, and they pause or they say, actually, I'm not sure. It needs to be an appealing offer. If it doesn't appeal to you, then you cannot sell it to somebody else. That's why the first sale is always to yourself. And the biggest resistance to the sale will always come from yourself. So you need to make sure that what you have out there is not just appealing to you, but appealing in the marketplace in the broader sense, because that is what you're going to be compared against. And you need to know exactly what the cadence of work is like in your clinic. All clinics have waves of demand within the day, within the week, within the month, and over the course of a year. We need to know what those are. They are mostly repeatable. And so we need to understand exactly what that's like. So, you know, one of my philosophies was Mondays is like the day where you plant your crops. So Monday is usually the busiest day in just about every general practice in Australia. And it means that if you take Monday off, that's okay. But if you do take Monday off, then you're often going to find that there is some demand that will go somewhere else. So you do need to understand what is the wave of demand like in your practice. So in most practices, you'll find Monday's the busiest, Tuesday's the second busiest. After that, it varies a bit, but it's often Thursday, Wednesday, Friday in most practices. And Saturday and Sunday, whilst the demand is high, the capacity is usually vastly reduced. And so overall consulting is substantially less. So you need to know what that is like in your clinic, and not just what you're providing, but what people want. So where is the demand? You do need to understand this, because you want to put people where the demand is. Doesn't make a lot of sense to set up a hot dog stand out the front of an empty stadium, and that's what you're doing if you misalign supply and demand. So know where that is. There are a lot more principles involved in actually getting your general practice clinic running well and getting the recruiting going. The things that we know are important as part of, you know, this GP recruitment matrix. This is one of the early pieces of work that Sachin and I did in what we call the Red Pill series. And you can see here, now your environment, now your offering, and you need to be able to close that deal. We have a comprehensive suite of content that helps people to recruit the GPs that they want for their practice. And it's so important to get this right now. This is going to become a really, really big issue over the coming 12 to 18 months, because I'm not sure that migration is going to keep up with demand. And that has been what we've been doing to solve the recruiting problem. We've been importing all of our GPs. It's not a problem in that the GPs that are coming into Australia are awesome. But since 2016, more than 50% of GPs have had their primary qualifications in a country other than Australia. And so what it means is we are dependent on imports to actually recruit for general practice, because only 15% of graduates are choosing it. So we need to work super, super hard to get the right people in. If you're having trouble with this and you would like more personalized help, then just drop an X below this video, or you can also use this QR code. Me up in a second. You can use this QR code and you can book a conversation with one of our practice growth specialists who can help to get you back on track. Chat to you a little bit more about what we do at Project X, but otherwise, go well. I hope this content has been useful for you, and I look forward to seeing you the next time around. Cheers.